Hi, good morning, you guys. It's Michelle. Welcome to day 2 of our week of wellness, and we're talking today about mindful eating. And the reason I wanted to bring this video to you today is because I have been taking all my mindfulness practices and really kind of exploring where I can do better or where they're impacting me in life and maybe where I can use them to improve other areas of my life. And one of those areas was in eating. So I was reminded about mindful eating, and I thought I'd come to you today and share all the dirt, right, of what I figured out about myself in hopes that it helps you. And maybe you could relate to some of the things that I discovered or uncovered when I started to really pay attention these last weeks and sit with my meal and be present with it. And so I'm just gonna get started because I don't want this to be a super long video for you. I'm glad you're here. If you're tuning in, please say replay below if you're watching the replay. And just let me know how these tips and tricks are working for you, how these reminders are for you, because as human beings, we forget. We could know all this information. We might have even heard it before, but we forget. We forget in our day-to-day practice. We forget unless we implement it and put it into our body and really live it, we forget. And even then, we're human. We can forget even then. So let's just get started. So mindful eating, what does that mean? It just means that we're not running around being crazy while we're eating. We're actually paying attention to our portion size. We're sitting down distraction-free away from our phone. We're not having the TV on and sitting in front of it while we're eating. We are not eating in the car, trying to get from place to place. We're not skipping meals. So just kind of all those things that just kind of happen in the day. And I am so guilty of all those things too, guys. You are not alone, right? So I put into practice this mindful eating for every meal that I've been eating for the last, I guess it's been 10 days now. And I have loved what I've uncovered, and it didn't take very long to realize where those habits had kind of been created for myself. So I'm going to list them off for you, and I just want you to give me a thumbs up or an emoji or a comment below if you can relate to any of these. And then I'm going to encourage you to give it a try yourself. So let's just start with the simple one. I am so busy this morning. I'm going to grab my coffee and I'm going to be good for like 4 hours before I eat something. Yeah, that one's really easy for me because I'm not always hungry first thing in the morning. Hey, Jenna.
Can I see my burping stuff?
Yeah, they're outside. So that one alone was huge. So just getting a little something in the morning. You've gone from dinner till morning sleeping, and your body has been depleted of all those nutrients all that time. So the morning's a great time to get in some protein, some healthy fat, maybe a tiny bit of carb, and just get your system revved up for the day. And especially if you work out in the morning, you're going to need a little bit of that glucose and the protein and fats to get you energized and ready to go. So, and then there's different theories on that. Some people say no carb in the morning. Some people say yes, carb in the morning. You just have to know what that is. And by carb, I'm not meaning a Pop-Tart. I'm meaning food choices. And we can go over that in another video. But let's just start there. So I have been enjoying my coffee and grabbing my meal first thing. And now that summer's here, I'm working out in the morning. So then I'm going to be, my goal for summer is to have mini meals throughout the day. So 5 to 6 mini meals throughout the day. So I'm going to energize my body when I wake up, refuel it after I work out, refuel it every 3 to 4 hours so my blood sugar stays nice and even, because that is something I know that I need to pay attention to. So that alone is a mindful practice, right? Okay, so skipping meals. How about over caffeinating? So now we've caffeinated because caffeine keeps us from being hungry. And then when we are hungry later, we're just going to overeat in portion of what we're eating. So that's been kind of a big eye-opener too. And then how much we go back and reach for that coffee, right? There's just so many little things that we can do in a day that can kind of sabotage ourselves without us intending to. I don't wake up and go, how could I sabotage myself today? But there's ways that we have trained ourselves, right? They're like habits we've created, and we know what can happen when we implement good habits, and we know what can happen when we don't pay attention to other habits and they kind of just take over. So that's been another one I noticed. Standing when I'm eating. Whether I'm cooking, maybe I'll just stand and eat it real quick so I don't have to worry about, the time it's going to take to sit down with a meal, or even tasting while I'm cooking. And then pretty soon all of that adds up, right? But man, standing, we are all, in my family, we are all guilty of it. We're running from one thing to the next, and it's just easier to stand there and talk and eat. But when we do that, we're not paying any attention to what's going in our mouth. So even if we have a healthy choice, we're not paying attention to the quantity that's going in. And that has been one of the other eye-openers that has happened for me. When I do sit mindfully and I have my meal in front of me and I sit down, you guys have heard of rest and digest, right? So rest and digest actually means resting so you can digest with your body. Your body is not in this fight or flight while it's trying to eat something. It can actually sit and get those digestive fluids going as the food is being received, right? And you're not in a stressful state because you're focusing solely on your food. So when I do sit down, I sit down with my meal, and I have been working on portion controls too. And I just wanted to share with you, like, this hand or this one is your best measuring tool possible. So just in a rule of thumb, you may have heard the deck of cards for protein. I go with palm of hand, so the size of my palm and the thickness is a good generalized portion of protein for yourself. Everybody's palm is specific for their body. And then you can grab as many green leafy veggies as you can grip, and that would fill your plate. If you have a carb choice, the size of your fist, maybe about 4 ounces, half a cup, and then your thumb as your fat. And then depending on your goals, you can use from the knuckle to the tip or the whole thumb. Like I said, that's a whole nother conversation on food. But this goes with you wherever you go. You don't have to measure, have a scale, have measuring cups. You kind of just eye it. You get used to what your portions are. And another big tip that I thought was really useful too is we have, as maybe you do too, multiple size plates in our kitchen. So we've got the really, really big plates, and then we've got those middle-sized plates. And I like to eat my meals on those middle-sized plates because, just as a little mindset trick, the plate is full. So now we're not filling this huge plate that's going to be too much of what we need to be eating. We're going to have, unless it's a big salad and you want to put all the greens on that plate, you have your smaller plate that fit all those portions that you have, right? And then it's looking abundant before you even sit and eat it. We look at our food with our eyes, and it tells us if it's going to be delicious first by what we see, then what we smell, and we use all of our sensory acuity for that to know that something's going to taste good. So we kind of eat with our eyes first, right? So if we have a plate that's full, we're already not going to be feeling deprived versus a huge plate with these small portions on top that make us seem like we're being deprived or in lack, right? So that is a big win too. Not chewing food thoroughly. And these are really vulnerable, right? Like, here, I'm just dishing out to you guys, but like just jamming it in. Chewing. I wasn't even chewing my food fully. Like, I was just swallowing it down, just getting it done. It's just something to get to the next thing. And when I'm practicing that mindful eating, I am, again, distraction-free, focusing on how the food tastes, focusing on what size bite is in my mouth, focusing on how it feels to chew that food properly and swallow without it being this big lump trying to go down your throat. I mean, you guys might be laughing when you hear this, but like, what happens when you're eating? Maybe pay attention to that today. See what happens if you're constantly pushing food down. Maybe you didn't chew it enough. Maybe it's too big of a bite. I don't know. Just, it's amazing what happens when you start to bring some awareness to what you're doing with your food. And so that was my other one, shoving food down in haste. Like, we're eating really fast because we gotta go. We gotta go. Hurry up. Get that done. Like, giving yourself that space to chew your food, enjoy it, be in that moment of eating, and then all of a sudden you're getting full a little bit faster, and you're starting to recognize the cues from brain to belly of, I'm full and satisfied right now. I don't need to keep shoving food in. And then I'm jumping back to food choice. You know, what we are putting in our body is going to help eliminate those additional cravings. And I will have a discussion about that later this week too, kind of food choice and what happens when we over caffeinate, what happens when we're craving that sugar, and how that can sabotage our eating efforts as well. And then the last one was eating in the car, which I thought I mentioned earlier. Just going ahead and, eating as you're driving, or maybe you have a sandwich or something and you're just not even paying attention while you have all these other things happening in your brain as you're trying to drive. And again, you're resting, but you're not digesting, you're just shoving in, right? So those are some of the things, focus on resting and digesting, focus on the food that you're eating and how it tastes, what it's like to chew your food completely before you swallow it, focusing on distraction free. Let the TV be off. Don't sit in front of the TV. Sit at a table. Have your silverware. Have a napkin. Sit up tall. Take a few minutes. It doesn't take that long. How long does it take to eat a meal? 10 minutes? And putting your fork down between bites so you're not always in that go position, right? So I'm hoping that this helps you today. Try some of these tips and tricks out just to see what happens, just to see what comes up for you. And if you want further help with this, please reach out. I'd be happy to work with you on that. It's amazing what happens when we take that food choice combination with our mindful eating and where we can go with just some simple little shifts. So I hope you have a fantastic Saturday. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. And again, just put your comments below or questions, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.